Hello there. Today we are gonna be reviewing the disc 5, the bonus disc of the Feel Flows box set by the Beach Boys. And thanks for all you folks who watched part 1, which was super long, but a lot of you people watched it completely through, and I appreciate all of you. And also, I want to let you know in the beginning that I'm right now doing a review series of all the Beach Boys releases, basically, at least most of them, and mostly chronologically. And I just recently did a review of Lil Deuce Coupe, and nobody saw that. So if you're interested and you are a fan of the Beach Boys, as of now I'm gonna be doing probably like 90% of the content on this channel about them. So yeah, if you're interested, check it out. The disc 5 has a lot of unreleased tracks, and I'm gonna go through them kind of like track by track. I've listened to most of the tracks now several times, but I haven't listened to the whole disc from start to finish like only once, so I haven't done that multiple times, but I've been listening to it on Spotify now, like my favorite tracks. So there's a lot of pretty cool things on this disc, and this was the disc that I was most excited about. That's why I wanted to separate it from the actual review that I did previously. The disc 5 starts up with This Whole World with alternate ending, and this doesn't do that much for me. It's fun to hear, but it's not as good as the released This Whole World. And then we have Add Some Music to Your Day with basically alternate lyrics, and it's very interesting to hear, and I'm glad that they worked the lyrics out more, you know. The released lyrics are really great, and it's fun to hear this version as well, but it's not as good. And then we have Don't Go Near the Water with, once again, alternate lyrics, and it's fun to hear like Al and Mike are singing this one like the released one as well, but Al sounds so much like Brian, and it's crazy how similar they could sound during this time period, even though they are not related at all. I completely understand why Brian, Dennis, and Carl sometimes sound very similar, especially Brian and Carl in some songs, but Al and Brian sounding similar is it's very weird, but it happened. But yeah, it's a cool version. I like it. Then we have Surf's Up Part 1 with basically the 71 track with 66 Brian vocal, and it's once again really interesting to hear. But yeah, I'm probably not gonna like add it on my regular playlists, but it's a really cool listen. Then we have Soulful Old Man Sunshine with a new mix, and this track is one of my favorites of the unreleased ones, and I think it's a huge missed opportunity once again by this group, because I really love it. I heard it the first time when Made in California was released, was it 2013? And it blew me away completely. To me it sounds like this classic musical, like like this musical movie track. It's so over the top, and like this how would I put it, like it's just so huge, orchestral, and the vocals are excellent, and I love it. Like, sounds like a hit to me, so I don't know why they didn't release it. Structurally it's really interesting because it has like, it builds up and it goes down, and it goes like all over the place. Yeah, and this mix, I don't like it as much as I like the mix that they released previously, but we have there's a bit different background vocals going on some places, and it's interesting, but I like more the previous mix that they released. And then we have I'm Going Your Way, once again with alternate mix. I'm not really sure which mix is like the original mix, because there's been the released versions of this track. This is a track by Dennis, and it kind of starts the Dennis Wilson section of this disc, and it's a rocker. It's a really cool song, The part with I'm no, there's no danger. That kind of in the lyrics that no, there's no danger. It's kind of I don't know, creepy. But anyway, yeah. Otherwise, I like it, and it kind of reminds me of the Manson Girls hitchhiking. But anyway, let's not go into that subject here. But yeah, it's I like the track. I'm not the biggest fan of the lyrics, and the vocals are great by Dennis. And yeah, it's a cool rocker. But yeah, it could have been like a really great song. I'm not sure if they completely nailed it. Maybe had they done a little bit more reworking on the lyrics and yeah, like I'm not sure which one is like the original mix, if there even is one, because they released, was it last year, some versions of this song digitally on streaming platforms, and they all kind of seem to have like a different mix. So I'm not really sure like which one is the original. If you know or can point me like the original mix, I would be very thankful. But anyway, let's go forward because we have a lot of tracks over here and I don't want to make an hour video once again. So then we have track 7, Where Is She? And this is a fabulous track by Brian, and it's once again one of those great classic Brian Wilson tunes. The lyrics are very simple and it reminds me a lot of the Beatles song She's Leaving Home. I like that track, but I'm not good with the song titles always. So anyway, but Where Is She? It's in the melody, it's very similar to that Beatles track, and the vocals once again are amazing, and it's a shame that it wasn't released during this time or even later, because it's really just perfect. I don't know, I just love it completely. And then we have Carnival, which is kind of a filler track. Production wise it's interesting and it works. It could have been like pretty interesting album, maybe not opener, but like this bridge into some other track. It's not really like a song, it's this chant with a lot of like these carnival sounds. So like I said, production wise it's interesting, but it's not like a track that I would be listening to every day. Maybe if I was going crazy, maybe maybe then, but I'd rather listen to Ding Dang. So anyway, It's Natural is a track, I think it was written by Brian and Mike. Well, I can check it out here. David Sandler, no, sorry, it's produced by Brian and David Sandler, yeah, and lead vocal was by Mike, okay, sorry, and recorded at Brian's house. It's a really good track, not as great as Where Is She, for example, but very good vocals, and I dig it a lot. And then we dive very straight and deep into the Dennis Wilson material, which I was super excited about. And first we have a medley called All of My Love and Ecology, and this is 5 minutes long, and it basically has 3 different sections, so I'm not really sure, like, well, I know what section is All of My Love, but I'm not really sure, well, I guess the latter 2 sections are basically, I guess, ecology, but there's basically like 3 different movements, and the last part reminds a lot of River Song. So it's basically like the start of the River Song, and I never knew that it started this early. So I completely love this tune. It sounds like a lot of these Dennis Wilson tracks, they sound very movie-esque. They're like kind of like out of a movie score, but not really. They sound very cinematic, I guess that's like what I'm trying to say. They paint these images, especially with this one, there's these sound effects of water, and the whole mood is very, reminds me a lot of like some Angelo Badalamenti stuff, who has done a lot of collaborations with David Lynch. So for example, Twin Peaks soundtrack. So it's very moody stuff. So anyway, I love it once again. And then the next one we have Before, which is this rocker basically, and all we have here is the finished instrumental track and then basically this hook, which is very catchy. And this song could have been a huge one with lead vocals. So yeah, and a lot of these things starting from here remind me a lot of Pacific Ocean Blue. So it's interesting to hear how early then he started to find that style, you know, his own style. Because, for example, Forever, which is basically like the classic Dennis Wilson track, even though it isn't really, it sounds more like a Brian Wilson track than a Dennis Wilson track, if you know what I mean. So it's interesting to hear on these unfinished and previously unreleased tracks that he started to find his maybe like his own style, production wise and songwriting wise maybe as well. So anyway, let's go forward. Behold the Night it is like this, once again, kind of like this bridge of a song. I'm not sure, like it works really well as an instrumental, very moody, and it flows perfectly into Old Movie, which is basically an early version of Cuddle Up, which was released on Carl and the Passions on 72 album. And throughout the years I've read that a lot of people don't, maybe not a lot of people, but some people at least don't like Cuddle Up. They find it too sugary, I guess, with the strings and everything. I never had a problem with it. I always loved it. But I would think that the people who don't like Cuddle Up because of the sugariness, they would probably enjoy this version a lot more. It doesn't have vocals, it's an instrumental, but there's the touching, the structure is there, the melody is there, but it's just not as maybe like over the top. It's more maybe like just not like, you know, so filled with the strings and that type of sound. So if you're like not that big of a fan of you know, that type of sound, then this is a little bit different. But I completely enjoy this one. And then we have Hawaiian Dream, which is a pretty long track. It's 4 and 30 minutes. 4 minutes 30 seconds, sorry. And I'm not a big fan of the intro part, because there's this guiro, which is the instrument that goes like, and it sounds like farting. So maybe if it was like mixed differently, because now it's like right at the top. If it like would have been mixed at the bottom, maybe then it will work better. I don't know. But when that intro part ends and then we get the actual song, it's fabulous. It's really wonderful. And once again, it sounds like out of a movie score. Really paints a great picture, and you can really start to imagine landscapes and stuff. And it would have worked perfectly as an album closer if Dennis had released his solo album back then, you know, finished these tracks and released the solo album. I can completely imagine this being a really wonderful closer. And then we have Settle Down, Sound of Free, which is a session outtake. It's a fun listen. And then we have I've Got a Friend, with no lead vocals, because there wasn't recorded any. Dennis did this live, I guess, a few times, and I read somewhere that there should be a radio broadcast recording of it, but it hasn't been released ever. So I hope that someday maybe the rights and the tape can be found and the rights can be solved and the thing can be released, because this track is probably the most Pacific Ocean Blue type of a song. And it has that, I love that tag. It has all those elements, you know, how Dennis used to build his songs. later on, so it has all that already. And I'm not so familiar with the live version, so I don't recall the lyrics how they go. I've heard it a few times, but it's been a while. But anyway, it's a shame that this track wasn't released. It reminds me a lot of Holy Man, actually, which is interesting. And then we have a piano demo of Till I Die, and it's a fun listen once again. There's no vocals. I guess it's just Brian playing the song on piano. And then we have two versions of Back Home, which is a song I really love, so it's fun to have them here. We have a demo version, and then we have an alternate version with Mike singing. The first is sang by Al, if I remember correctly, and then the other one is sang by Mike. And it has some different lyrics from the released one. Yeah, Al and Brian sang the demo, and then we have the alternate version with Mike's vocals. They are very different, so it's interesting how much they worked on this track. Even though it's not like God Only Knows or something, but yeah, sometimes songwriting can be interesting, because some classic tracks like God Only Knows are were done completely super fast, and then there are some tracks which are good songs but not classics, like Back Home, for example, and then you got guys working on it for years. So it's interesting. And then we have really interesting thing, which is basically like a kind of like a songwriting session or a demo of Won't You Tell Me, which is a song written by Brian with his dad Murray, and we hear both of their voices talking through the song on this demo. And it's a really good song. And then after the demo version we actually hear the song itself. It's very old-fashioned type of melody and a song, so I can definitely imagine that there's like Murray influences there. It sounds kind of like 50s to me, and yeah, but it's very great melody, and the song itself, it's completely finished, and I don't know why it wasn't released at its time, because it really sounds like a classic to me, so I don't know. And then we have Barbara, which is a very personal song for Dennis, because yeah, he's singing about Barbara, his wife. But yeah, it's a good song. And then we have an early version of Slip On Through without any vocals, and it's a little bit different. It's a little bit groovier, I guess. Like the beat is a little bit different, or the tempo, and yeah, you could basically like sing on top of it, the vocals, because the structure is there of the released version, so you can like use that as a karaoke track if you want to do your own version. It's great. I love Slip On Through, so it's great to hear this version as well. And then we have Susie Cincinnati, once again, basic session highlights. It's a fun listen. And My Solution, which is a highlight, definitely, because this stuff is way out there, completely different than anything else on this set, or in general that people did during this time. This is this is the hard stuff, and I love to hear it with the backing vocals, because it's a very sinister type of track. So yeah, I love it. It's very moody. Completely love it. Then we have this little tiny goofing around with the Beatles song "You Never Give Me Your Money," which is it's a fun listen, but kind of useless, because it's not really like, it's not even trying to be cover of the track. It's just, I guess, Brian just goofing around with the synthesizer or something. And then we have a medley with Happy Birthday Brian / or going into God Only Knows with some funny lyrics. And it's fun because you can hear all the people talking talking in the background, so it reminds me a lot of the Party album. It's a fun listen, definitely. And then we have a few teases, I guess, at the end with You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone, with just the instrumental track with backing vocals, and then we have Marcella a cappella. And both of these tunes are some of my favorites by the Beach Boys in general, and especially You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone, which is so underrated tune. I love the instrumental track, and I love the background vocals on it. So it's fun to hear them here, but it gets me so hopeful for a future release with more of this stuff. So anyway, what did you think of Disc 5 material? To me, it's mind-blowing how much they actually had tracks that were even finished or very closely, finished, and were so great, really, like classic sounding, and they never went back and thought about finishing them or releasing them. And then they released When Girls Get Together, like 10 years later, which is so weird because that's like the worst track of the Sunflower Sessions. So I don't know. Anyway, most definitely I recommend this box set to anybody really who is a fan of music. And it was actually featured on the Billboard sales lists recently, so people have been buying it, which is great, makes me happy and hopeful that we'll get more releases like this in the near future, because I don't like the digital dump releases at all. I'm kind of saddened that the 2020 sessions were just released digitally, because there is some really amazing Dennis tracks on it. Well, I guess, I should maybe just purchase it and do my own copy of it, but, CD is always kind of a little bit boring. But anyway, yeah, I'm completely blown away by some of the tracks. My favorites overall, I have to tell you, Wouldn't It Be Nice to Live Again with the extended solo, that's probably up there. Then this version of Where Is She, it's really great. And then the track by Murray and Brian, what was the name? Won't You Tell Me? That's really high up there. My Solution, and then what else? I don't know. There's so many. Take a load off your feet live. I don't know. But anyway, hey, what are your favorites overall? What did you think? Is there anything that you didn't like or didn't enjoy on the box set? Would be nice to hear. And anyway, just, thanks for all you folks with your long comments. I love to read them. And we'll continue with the album review series hopefully soon. I have a lot of Beach Boys. These are all like Beach Boys related stuff that I have. So I try to go through everything one by one. So, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.